Hello and welcome to another informative episode on White Davy Construction and Farm. So in my update when I was maintaining my bin last week, that was Monday, not last week, I mentioned 2 bins that were ready for harvesting, and so I have harvested one of them, and these worms are what was in this bin. So I put back the rough edge, some of the castings like this that is ready for harvesting. I can't harvest because it is full of the worms, as you can see here. Lots of hatchlings too. Right, so it's quite a lot of them. I have some up here on this container. I use this tray to pour out the content and put it in the sun so that the worms could move down, and every now and then I would go back and scrape off the castings off the top and then leave the rest in the sun so that the worms can keep moving down. So I have harvested my castings from this. I have a little bit under 2 gallons. So now I am going to be putting these guys back in here. I need to wash them off because other than that I won't be able to get them off because they are so small and delicate. Now because I am doing that, I'm gonna have to add some paper to this bin because I can see that I'm having water gathering there, and we cannot afford to have the bin being too wet. Oops, I think I dropped off my worm, so I'm just gonna have to find him here and get him back into the bin. Hello, little guy. Good, I've got him. So now I'm gonna have to add some paper to this bin. See, look how quickly they're going down. So I'm just gonna move some of this material out from one side. That's a lot of water, but I cannot throw it off because if I do that, I'm going to be throwing out some of my worms. So I'm just going to add a few newspaper to this bin. I am not even going to shred the paper. Now I'm going to push this content back over onto the paper, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Well, one of the good things about this bin having a little bit too much moisture, as long as it's not to the point where the worms have nowhere to go, is that I am going to be out of town for next week, so the bin is going to be drying out in that time. But because I have so much moisture in here now, I don't have to worry about this one bin here drying out too much. go to refuge, baby. There you go. You can go hide away from the water. I'm just scraping this out because I see a lot of worms down in the water. I don't want them to stay there and drown. The reason why the bin is so wet is because after sifting out the castings a few minutes ago, I watered the bin and put it up because I forgot that I haven't added the worms to it yet, and that I would need to wash off the hatchlings off the tray so that they don't die. So now that's right. Now I will just spread the content back out in the bin. This bin does not have holes in the bottom, and I don't intend to put any in the bottom. It is not necessary for me to do so. I just have to monitor the moisture content in the bin, as long as I take the necessary precaution to ensure that I don't overwater it, and if I do, I just add material to wake up the moisture so it won't be too bad for them in there. So now I think I'm not going to put any newspaper on the top because, as I mentioned, the bin is a bit too moist. So I'm just gonna use this mesh here that I made from window screen. This was originally made for my totes, but I decided to try it on here and saw that it fits. So now I need to order more of these material and make some more covers like these, because they are very helpful in keeping out flies, especially the fruit flies, out of the bin. So you can get these material online. I think you can get them at lumber store as well. When I use this, I have absolutely no problem with flies getting in, as long as I make it large enough and use the elastic where it is tight enough so that there is no gap on the ends for the flies to get in. So those are factors you need to consider if you're making something like this for your worm bin. It works pretty well, guys, so try it if you are able to. And if you don't sew, then you might have friends or relatives, or maybe you can pay a professional to sew it for you. But it's definitely worth the effort. And another thing too, an easier way to do it if you don't sew and you don't want to pay to get it done, is to just cut a large strip, large enough to cover your bin. And this end here, you want to make sure that it can come down on your bin somewhat, and then you can just use a string to tie it on. That works too. Okay guys, so that is my update on this tray, how it is doing. Now I'm just gonna put this back on the shelf. So the worms are doing quite fine. It is good to see so many of them in there. I think there are still a few worms on here, but what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be emptying the content of the second tray that I mentioned needs to be harvested onto here. I cannot put it outside for today because it is going to rain, but I'm going to empty that content on here and just leave it in the garage so that it will start drying out for me. I only have 2 days to put it out in the sun to dry out before I go on my trip. So that is it, my dear viewers. If you enjoy this video, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. Turn on your notifications so you can get further updates. If you really like this video, then please give me a thumbs up, click that like button, and you can leave a comment in the section below. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day.